What's up YouTube, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and this is my hands-on review of the OnePlus One. This device is being called the Flagship Killer of 2014, but it's also being called the best smartphone money can't buy. Now, Flagship Killer of 2014 because this has flagship specs at a very low price. You're looking at half the price of other flagships out there with very similar specs. Now, as you can imagine, because of this pricing model, the demand is very high. Now, the problem is the supply is currently not being able to meet that demand, which means you can't just go ahead and buy one of these. You have to have it on an invite-only basis. So if somebody's already got a OnePlus One, they'll be given a few invites and they can share those with their friends and family. So it is quite hard to come by. The other option is to get this shipped over from somewhere like China, but that will come with a different operating system and you'll have to flash this, which I've had to do. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in this video. Now, straight off the bat, just to mention, I unfortunately do not have any invites for the OnePlus One, just to make that absolutely clear before everyone starts commenting and asking for invites. I don't actually have any of these. So now that we've got that clear, let's get straight into the review. So beginning with the display, you've got a 5.5 inch Full HD LTPS IPS screen here, and that's 1920 by 1080 pixels, so roughly about 401 ppi pixel density. Now this is very nice and sharp. Colors look very good on here, and it almost seems like everything is pressed up against the screen, which is a really nice effect. I'm not sure how they've done this, but I really do like it. Now, I've said this before about IPS based displays. Sometimes colors can seem a little bit washed out, but this is nothing major. Overall, this is a very nice display. Now, because this is a 5.5 inch display, it is on the larger side of things and it weighs 162 grams. It does, however, fit quite nicely in the hand because of that curved back. So although you may have to use this with two hands generally, it does fit quite nicely in the hand. The design of the device is quite nice overall. It looks very slick. And you've got two versions. You've got the slick white and you've also got the sandstone black. Now the slick white, the version I've got here, feels quite smooth at the back. It's quite basic, but apparently the sandstone black is supposed to have a very nice texture to the back, which feels really good and comfortable in the hand. Now, performance wise, they've really stacked up the specs here. You've got a quad-core 2.5 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 processor with the Adreno 330 GPU and 3 GB of RAM. So really up there with the specs, similar specs to something like the Samsung Galaxy S5, the LG G3 and the Sony Xperia Z2. Benchmark scores, as expected, are very high, and performance on this thing is absolutely great. Very fast and smooth and snappy. I had no issues whatsoever in terms of running this device day to day, and even for those more graphically intensive apps, you shouldn't have any problems. Now, memory, you've got either the 16 or 64 GB storage versions available, and this is not expandable, so you don't have a memory card slot. So if you can get a hold of one of these, I would definitely recommend going for the 64 GB version, which isn't too much more expensive, because 16 GB can be a little bit limiting, especially if you're going to be shooting things like 4K video, which can take up a lot of space. Now, moving on to the cameras, you've got a 13 megapixel rear-facing camera, which does have a dual LED flash. Now, this is dual LEDs of the same color, so you don't have different colors here. And the camera interface is very simple, nice and clean. And the results are very nice. You've got lots of detail with some good colors. Here are a few examples. I actually found this to have some really good results outdoors. And in terms of video, you've got up to 4K, so you've got 2160p Ultra HD, but you also have DCI 4K, and I believe this is the only smartphone which supports this format. I did find, however, when I'm in DCI mode, recording is fine, the results fine, but there is a bit of lag in terms of the feedback on the camera while you're recording. I only found this on the DCI 4K. On UHD, it was absolutely fine, smooth, no issues. You also have 720p at 120 frames a second, and the front-facing camera is a 5 megapixel shooter that can film at up to 720p HD. Now, quality-wise, the front-facing camera was absolutely great. I actually found this to be one of the best that I've used recently. You've got some very nice and sharp details on here, and if you are somebody who likes taking selfies, then I think you're going to be very impressed with the OnePlus One. The video is also very good. Here is a short sample. So here is a quick front-facing camera test on the OnePlus One. And just holding it at arm's length away, and this is the sort of quality that you can expect. Now the operating system, you've got Android KitKat on here, and the general version is going to come with the CyanogenMod 11S skin on top. Now I actually got the Chinese model here, so it came with ColorOS out of the box. So ColorOS is something that you'll also find on the Oppo devices. Personally, I'm not a fan of ColorOS, so I reinstalled CyanogenMod onto this straight away. And I followed a tutorial video from C4E Tech. I will be linking that in the description below. And it was quite a simple process. The thing with this is that I've not had the latest update for CyanogenMod 11 as yet. So this may be a case where this is prioritized a bit less, so you might have to wait a little bit longer if you do go through this method. But CyanogenMod is a very nice skin. It's the first time that I've used it, and without going into too much detail, it's very close to stock Android, but allows a lot of customization. I mean, just to mention a few examples, you can choose to have your menu buttons on screen or off screen. You can have patterns to unlock the device and jump straight to an app. So for example, if you draw a circle while the device is locked, then it will straight away jump into the camera app, which is very useful. And you've got a bunch of custom themes which you can download and install. So for example, if you wanted the interface of the device to look like the Samsung Galaxy S5, you can go ahead and do that. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but you can buy the theme and you can install this. And you've got tons of different custom themes available, some which are free and some which you can buy. And this is a great touch here on the OnePlus One. Now let's talk about the 4G LTE support of this device. This is something I've seen not covered in other reviews. The fact is that the OnePlus One does not support all the 4G LTE bands, in particular band 20. Now band 20 here in the UK is what most networks use for 4G LTE. What that basically means is if you're in the UK, the OnePlus One will only work with 4G LTE on the 3 network and the EE network. So if you're on other networks such as O2, Vodafone, Tesco Mobile, then you'll only be able to get 3G on the OnePlus One. You're not going to be able to get 4G LTE. This is a similar issue that we had with the iPhone 5 when it was initially released. Now this is a hardware limitation. It's not a software limitation, so it's not something that can be updated or anything. So unless OnePlus One actually changed the hardware on their future models, you are not going to be able to get 4G LTE on all networks. Now, I would definitely advise you check out the website and then check out the network support in your country to see if you're going to be able to get 4G LTE on the OnePlus One. It may not be an issue for a lot of you. Some of you may just be able to get this straight and your network may support it. But if it's a case where your network does not support that LTE band, that means you're going to have to either change networks to get 4G LTE on the OnePlus One, which can be quite difficult, or the other option is to live with 3G, which might be quite limiting for a lot of you out there. That's just something to bear in mind. I thought I'd make that clear because I've not seen this covered in other reviews. Now in terms of the battery, you've got a 3100 mAh battery, which is not removable. And this is absolutely great in terms of usage. I got a full day on this without any problems. I'm a medium to heavy user, but even if you are on the heavier side, I do think you should still get through the full day. You may need to top up if you're a very heavy user, but battery life on this was absolutely great. Now finally, looking at the price, this is what really makes this device what it is. You've got a very low retail price here, £229 or $299 for the 16GB version, or £269 or $349 for the 64GB version. So you're only paying roughly about £40 or $50 more for the 64GB version, which is the reason why I definitely recommend going for the 64GB version. Now this is based on if you can actually go ahead and get one. The invite only system is what's the problem here. You can do what I did and get a Chinese model imported, which is roughly going to be about $70 to $100 more. And as I did mention, it's probably going to come with a different operating system, so you are going to have to get it manually onto CyanogenMod, which can be a little bit complicated for some, but that's just the way it is at this point in time. So there we have it, the OnePlus One. Overall, this is an absolutely awesome device, and for the price that you're paying, it's absolutely understandable that the supply is not being able to meet the demand. I mean, for this price, you're not going to get any better smartphone out there. This is absolutely insane. I don't know how they've managed to keep the price so low for this device. Now, there is that issue of not being able to get one of these, and it's on the invite only basis, but if you're a bit patient, I'm sure in the next few months supply will start meeting the demand and you will be able to get one of these. And the other issue is of the 4G LTE support. Your network may not support it, so I definitely recommend that you go ahead and check out if your network will support it, just so you can plan ahead if you will have to change networks to get onto this device. I mean, even if you do have to do that, this is still absolutely worth it for that price. I mean, the money that you're going to be saving on the flagship device, getting a SIM-only contract on a different network might actually be a good option for some of you out there. What do you think of the OnePlus One? Do drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, as always, please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. And why not subscribe to the channel? I've got plenty more content coming up on here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV, and I'll see you next time. If you want to see more regular videos like this one, then be sure to hit the subscribe button, which will be below. If you're on a mobile device, it may be somewhere else. If you want to see my previous related video, then hit the link right here. If you want to stay in touch over Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, then all of the addresses will be there somewhere, as well as direct links in the description below. Okay, if you're still watching, then that means you've not done one of those things, so, you know. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just gonna go downstairs. See. Okay. There isn't really a downstairs. Anyway, so yeah.